Introducing our next moderator. She has built a stellar reputation and fame as a publisher and founder of Partners in Digital Health. She launched the world's first breakthrough peer-reviewed journal on distributed ledger technology, blockchain in healthcare today, telehealth and medicine today. She has been named as a female leader in blockchain in the Introducer magazine, making the international roster of blockchain female game changers in 2019, and again in 2020 as the top 101 women in blockchain and cryptocurrency in the world for evidence-based journalism. Let's welcome Tori Senai as our next moderator to lead this amazing set of panelists in healthcare. And Tori, I'm really privileged to be one of your panelists here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very most kind introduction, Mimi. Happy to have you aboard and happy to be here today. Thank you. Hello to all of you, and thank you for joining us at the TiE Silicon Valley Blockchain and AI Summit. Thanks so much to the entire TiE team for inviting us to speak with you today. My name is Tori Senai, founder and publisher of the groundbreaking open access peer-reviewed journal Blockchain in Healthcare Today and curator of the Converge to Accelerate ConV2X Symposium. It is scheduled for November 9 through 11. But today I am your moderator for our session entitled Reviving Healthcare. I'm joined by several esteemed subject matter experts who have embraced blockchain and AI to transform and deliver more robust, comprehensive, and safe personalized healthcare. With our largest health systems experiencing repeat ransomware attacks, admin inefficiencies, and recognizing one size does not fit all, our 5 panelists will share perspectives, experiences, and new market initiatives with you today. I'm going to ask each panelist 2 questions in a round-robin format. First, let's ask each panelist to introduce themselves. Radhika, would you like to go first?
I think let's move on to the other panelist.
All right, Ingrid, how about you?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to share some of my thoughts with other team members today. I currently function as the Chief Innovation Officer for the Government Blockchain Association. I'm also on the board of Partners in Digital Health. It's a great honor to contribute to the important mission and vision of both organizations. I'm also the CEO and founder of the Institute for Science, Entrepreneurship, and Investments. And I'm also the president of Detect Genomics. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Radhika, we'll go back to you. You weren't available just earlier.
Yeah, you mean for an intro?
For an introduction, yes.
So I'm Radhika Iyengar. I am CEO of Barlea Corporation, a company that is transforming healthcare cybersecurity with blockchain and AI. And such a pleasure to be here with you today. Really super excited about being a part of this panel. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Mike, how about you?
Hey everyone, my name is Mike McCoy. I'm the Associate Director of Emerging Technology at Humana, a health insurance company based here in the United States. And I'm also an adjunct professor at University Hospital based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, called Thomas Jefferson University. One of the courses I teach there is blockchain and healthcare, among other ones around data, AI, machine learning, things like that. I've worked in the blockchain world since about 2017 professionally, and I'm just a avid person of the space, believing in democratization, especially in the healthcare world. I come from working in health information systems since 2018 on the back end and the boring stuff, which gets the engines running and gets everyone the data and information they need. So I appreciate being here and happy to share my thoughts.
Thank you, Mike. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Ben Goertzel. I'm a mathematician originally from way back. Actually, I got my PhD at Temple University in the late '80s. So another Jersey boy. Got my PhD in Philly, right? And I've been around the world many times since then. I've been doing mostly AI, not pure mathematics, for the last 30 years or so, and applying AI pretty much across all vertical markets. I mean, I have played a large role in launching the subfield of AI called artificial general intelligence, trying to build thinking machines that can really think like people. But along the way, I've also been applying AI to do a bunch of more or less useful things in areas from finance, national security, humanoid robotics. I led the software team behind the Sophia robot, and a bunch of AI applied to genomics and clinical medicine also. And I think blockchain is something I was interested in since before Bitcoin, really, in terms of distributed cryptographic networks for allowing decentralized control of IT systems. But I launched the Singularity-Net blockchain-based AI platform in late 2017 and have been running that as CEO since that time, along with a bunch of other AI work.
Thanks so much, Ben. Mimi, let's close the loop with you.
Great. So I'm honored to spearhead Valmini. I stepped as a CEO and co-founder. And Valmini's vision as next-gen AI using ML, especially deep learning technologies. I'm going to keep my intro short because Radhika introduced me earlier. Let the panel go on with the next set of amazing questions. So back to you, Tori.
Thanks so much. We'll try to keep good time for you. Ingrid, let's start with you. The first question, can you explain why global health data exchanges, organizations such as the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, and population health are important for policymakers and global resource allocation moving forward? Specifically, where do AI and blockchain fit in terms of trust, speed, and cost if and when we encounter a future pandemic?
Thank you. That's a complex question, but I'll try to be brief. So one, I think we've noticed not only the institute that you mentioned, but several other international organizations spend a lot of resources, put a lot of passion and knowledge to explain the fact that we've had a massive increase in data generated over the last decade. We have an increased convergence of technologies that require interoperability, standardization, KPIs, and quality metrics that are unique for these emerging technologies. And as we know, for healthcare, we are witnessing a transition from sick care towards wellness, predictive medicine, and precision medicine. All these factors combined have highlighted the need to develop global data exchanges. And to top it all off, we had the pandemic accentuate what some of us had been saying for many years, that it's really essential to have the option to give access to various key stakeholders in this global data ecosystem to only what they really need to have access to. So to have that granularity and that dynamic access to the data that is not only relevant for their needs, but also that preserves privacy, trust, and the data stewardship that we're all aiming for. So that's to answer why. The second part, I think we all understand as a society that we must move towards global population health approach. Even though we want to do precision medicine, we've noticed what happens if population health goes down. It impacts the economy, it impacts many other facets such as education and workforce development in society. On a third level, and I'll close with that, is I think we all are involved in technology, and definitely it is my firm opinion, and that I'm sure everybody on this panel echoes, that blockchain and AI can be foundational. I see them as being intertwined. You can't say you need one or the other. Most new products that we see these days have at least two emerging technologies, sometimes 3 or 4 embedded in them. But very often, yes, we'll see blockchain and AI working in harmony and in synchrony, and hopefully not in an antagonistic fashion, as maybe Mike will share later. But I think we can all understand the value of each of them, and together can develop platforms and systems globally that will leverage the benefits of both. That's as concise as I can be. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, Mike, we'll go to you now. As a founding member of the Synaptic Health Alliance, not you, I mean Humana, what was Humana's experience working with multiple parties? In the past, you've mentioned contracts, licenses, and consortia agreements delaying delivery. So can you qualify that? Do you mean patient services? Do you mean back office workflows? Do you mean data sharing? What exactly are you getting at with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think most of that experience comes from the back office and the administrative stuff. And a lot of it comes from, so within the Synaptic Health Alliance in general, our first use case was how do we help with the insurance claim accuracy problem? Because health insurance companies in the United States didn't always have the full incentive to be very truthful to the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services when it came to the reimbursements for payments and claims. And a lot of times there was a lot of lawsuits and illegitimate behavior when it came to reporting those claims out. And there are laws and standards in place now where we have to be transparent about the accuracy of how much the government gives us and how much the actual service are actually used for the government as well. And so in a blockchain network with other, in a cooperative model where there are other health insurance companies that we compete with in the market, we have to then share our accuracy data scores in a blockchain network every single day. So that call centers and back office administrative folks don't have to call back and forth like, did that patient actually get paid for this? Or did they actually have that service being done? Or all these different things. You have a more dynamic, updated, method of tracking the transaction via blockchain, of bringing multi-parties together so they could see that all in a single source of truth. But if you were ever to add new features or add new partners into that blockchain consortia, you all then have to go back to your enterprise administrative folks, your procurement folks, create a whole new contract that each of the parties in the consortia have to sign them together. And then you have to wait to have all those signed documents together and reviewing of legal work, which we all have to do and get our ducks in a row. And we're not using smart contracts right now to be able to automate those agreements as consortium members. And so these are like current state issues that we're dealing with when it comes to blockchain consortia things. Yes, there are automated principles and automated technology we could use on the back end to potentially get to that point. But when it comes to the data that's so valuable in a consortium like Synaptic, it's and to the federal government and to Health and Human Services and Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, this is the current state of how we're interacting, creating agreements today. And so we do have to be very understanding that though we that may be more tech savvy and maybe understanding of blockchain and AI more, it's not an everyday practice and not in everyday situations where we can use that to the best of our advantages. And I think that's just where in the adoption cycle we are when it comes to blockchain, and that's fine. But I really think that it's just generally tough. It's a social problem, not a technical problem, to get many people to trust each other when it comes to bringing new people into the group, bringing new people into the party, interacting, sharing data or results or learnings that are best for the group. Because blockchain doesn't exactly, sometimes you can share data like individually within all participants. It's more so you're sharing the learnings of that information from your database to the rest of the group, so that you're not, especially in healthcare, because you're not exchanging patient data in these networks. You're not exchanging any PHI or HIPAA related information. It's just the learnings so that you could still be transparent and help in a cooperative model rather than disturb the whole network and ecosystem and how people interact.
Thank you. Now a follow-up for you with all that said. Can true democratization of services exist in healthcare, and where?
So I definitely see that as a possibility. I think there's three type of ways you could do that. One are data marketplaces, and these can more so be for the user or organizations that agree they can share this information. I will even tell you there's many blockchain AI consortia like Melody, which is used for drug discovery, mostly based in EU pharmaceutical companies, and then there's others that share transparent data of information where they all need to solve this specific problem. Data marketplaces in blockchain technology are best when you each have a minimally viable data set or problem that you need to solve together and find. And then you as a group or a consortium or a network can then exchange that data information very, very easily and very well. And those currently today are in a permission space, but I assume, or I believe in a future where in a public space, you're able to publicly share drug discoveries, not pricing or information, but mostly how a drug was able to inform and really help out a group, or how a potential therapy was able to inform or benefit a group. There's examples of this like VitaDAO. VitaDAO is actually a longevity research DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, where whoever brings up IP or brings up therapeutics or drugs that are beneficial to the group, and the group actually is seen in a trial that this actually works and it's validated by doctors, they actually get reimbursed through token rewards and systems. And it's a very similar model, but to how we reimburse drug discovery today, but instead of in one-to-one relationships, it's in one-to-many. And so it helps in those type of methods. I also see like AI products as NFTs. So being able to create an AI algorithm and use a non-fungible token to validate that you were the one that's be able to create that model and that algorithm and then be able to resell it out into the digital world. I think that's a method you can combine kind of blockchains and AI together because one or two things. AI and blockchain kind of compete against each other. AI, the more data, the better, is beneficial for your solutions. They're mostly in centralized systems, and they mostly don't have their algorithms shared or spread. Whereas blockchain, the less data, the better, because you can be able to send more of the transactions across the network of participants. If you have too many data points to send, the blockchain just isn't able to do it at a reasonable speed. And then they're mostly decentralized and they're mostly transparent for the most part. And so when you combine the ability to have AI and then be able to track it across multi-parties and then exchange the value of that, that could be very valuable. And then I really do think that you're seeing major companies like Nokia right now is actually creating data marketplaces when it comes to telecom or supply chain services. And then there's other ones like the telcos such as Comcast, Verizon, AT&T. They've partnered and piloted in different ad-based blockchain networks and services so they can be able to see those insights together without disclosing the actual advertising or personal data. And I think you do the same thing in blockchain when it comes to being able to aggregate most data information from the healthcare companies that have all this information that could be used for good or could be used to solve for drug therapeutics and other therapies. Combining those insights together with multi-parties could be the dream and the factor that helps us use AI to then learn on algorithms to make those decisions better. But those are mostly the methods you can do so, at least that I see today with blockchain and AI.
Okay, thanks so much. And that's going to lead me to Ben. Ben, you've been quoted as saying the future will be run by AI. Automation is already improving more than 700 job types, lowering costs and increasing output. Tell the audience why they should not fear loss of those 700 job types. What's your vision?
Well, my way of thinking is perhaps different than the average person today. I mean, I think that within perhaps a few decades even, we're going to look back on needing to work for a living in the sense of carrying out repetitive tasks under someone else's command in order to accumulate resources to enable us to live the way we want to live. I mean, I think working for a living is going to be obsolete, and then we will view in hindsight the loss of these 700 jobs as just part of the ongoing process of humanity moving beyond the phase where we have to work for a living. I mean, this is not new to any fan of science fiction, right? I mean, if you look at, say, Ian Banks' culture novels, among many other examples, I mean, one of the characterizations of a primitive, undeveloped culture is that they need to use money because manufacturing hasn't advanced to the point where there's just enough stuff for people to have in their everyday life. So I think there's a transition to be managed, and that transition may be difficult and painful for many people, and our social and economic systems are not currently well configured to manage that transition. So I don't want to discount that and the suffering and confusion that could happen. On the other hand, I don't think it's a bad process. Like, I think putting people out of work is, on the whole, it's good. And once we don't have to work for a living, we can busy ourselves with entertaining ourselves, spiritual advancement, sports, art, social lives, other things that are a lot better than working to get resources to live. So I think it's good. Let's obsolete all the jobs and let's just adapt society in a reasonable way to this new condition that AI and robotics will allow.
All right, well, let's try to temper the panic out there right now. Can you give us one example of how Singularity-Net solution has helped a corporation or individual monetize AI algorithms at scale? What sort of return on efficiency?
So, I mean, what we're doing in Singularity-Net is we're creating a blockchain-based decentralized platform for multiple AI agents to coordinate and cooperate to deliver, both general intelligence and practical AI functions across different vertical markets. And I think this is critical in order that as AI ascends toward general intelligence, its benefits are broadly distributed across all humanity. Because if control isn't broadly distributed, benefits aren't going to be broadly distributed. So, large corporations are part of the economic scene, and we want to deliver value there along with everywhere else. We've done some work with Cisco, for example, over the last couple of years, using Singularity-Net-based AI for some smart city projects. For example, traffic regulation. So you have deep neural nets running in various traffic cameras, and then you're using symbolic AI systems running on Singularity-Net to help do street scene and pedestrian vehicle movement analysis, so you can identify accidents more quickly, you can route ambulances around traffic congestion, and so forth. So that's one example. I mean, there's examples within fintech where projects are using AI running on Singularity-Net for market making and financial prediction. There's app examples. So for musicians, there's a song splitter app that lets you take music and split it into multiple tracks using AI running on Singularity-Net. And in that direction, there's a couple of projects we're working with that are making blockchain phones that allow all the data coming through the phone to be stored in secure online data wallets where analytics can then be done on Singularity-Net. Those aren't launched yet, but we're prototyping these blockchain phones now. So really, if we're going to succeed, 10 years from now, let's say, a significant percentage of the AI on the planet has to be on decentralized blockchain-based networks. Just like Linux has succeeded by a significant percent of the computing power on the planet being on open source operating systems. Not 100%, but enough to keep everyone else honest, or a little more honest anyway. So that's what we're aiming for. Decentralized networks, say at least 30% of the AI processing power on the planet within the next 5 or 10 years. We've got a long way to go, but you saw how fast Google and Amazon increased. And I think blockchain-based AI can grow at that same pace by delivering value in one market after another.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Mimi, let's go to you. The question is, can you introduce the audience on how AI is being used in healthcare and how it's impacting our ecosystem?
Sounds good, Tori. Yeah, so I think I'm the one who's actually coming from AI first, and blockchain will follow.
Yeah.
So AI is actually is game changer in healthcare, and we realized this more during pandemic. How much when our healthcare folks could not be there for the patient, and that's when there was a wake-up call. We've seen AI making an impact in different areas. One is diagnostics, diagnostics, even drug development, treatment, personalization, gene editing. So the business that Velmini is in diagnostic, right? If we are able to correctly diagnose diseases, which actually takes years of medical training, it is a very time-consuming, arduous job. And also there's a demand for experts who are needed to, and usually they far exceed the supply. It also we've seen the doctors under a lot of strain, especially when there's a delay in giving the diagnostic for these life-saving patients. So what machine learning, especially deep learning algorithms, have recently been able to diagnose diseases and have made it much more cheaper and accessible. So what does it really mean? Whereas these machine learning algorithms, what they in a simplistic way, they're able to learn to see different patterns, which is similarly to what the doctors see. Now, in this case, where somebody just pointed out, I think it was Michael who just pointed out the key difference is that these algorithms needs a lot of data. There's a lot of thousands of images before the algorithms really learn and is able to organize before the information can really be more accurate and can be consumed. However, we've seen some amazing results, especially in detection of lung cancer, strokes using CT scans, MRI scans, even on the skin lesion for skin images. If you think of it, even indicators of diabetic retinopathy in eye images. So all these images are being used now to detect these cases a lot faster, which human eye can then tend to miss. I jokingly say some of these x-rays as 256 shades of gray, whereas it takes years and years before a human eye or a doctor or radiologist can get trained, whereas our algorithms are able to detect in less than 5 seconds with a lot more accuracy. So you're going to see the healthcare, especially diagnostic side, is going to be a game changer. The way the healthcare practice is followed, these models, they will become aid to these dentists or the medical doctors to provide this data-driven assessment reports, as we say, which is they're not going to replace the medical doctors or the dentist or whoever it is, but they will become a very valid and credible resource to these doctors. And this will really save time, bring better patient outcome, and even save the cost, if you think of it. Often we've seen the way the medicine is practiced, it's more pain first. It's always emergency first. So often the real issues get missed. Or if there is something which was, a very inception stage, because of these scans, you get distracted. It's not that our doctors are not well trained. It's just that they get distracted because of the nature of the medicine, that these issues can become really huge and can cause a lot more cost to the insurance, to the patients, and obviously takes a reputation on a doctor's practice as well. What we believe is early intervention is obviously can cure and can really make a difference when it comes in a better treatment. So predictive AI will transform as this whole medical ecosystem, because it'll be able to read these radiographs much more effectively than our doctors are able to do that. So that's where we see, Tori, where AI is going to make an impact in healthcare for a better reason, and obviously will increase the efficiency, will decrease the cost, and obviously help in a better patient management.
Thank you very much, Mimi. We have a couple of speakers that may have to leave a little early, so I'm going to go to them with the second question. Ingrid, this one is for you. How soon do you think every patient will have a digital twin? What type of training is available for clinicians to use and adopt the technology, or will it make primary care obsolete in the next decade? All yours.
Thank you. Well, first, to make sure we have the same definitions, digital twins are replicas of real world systems or entities. So we're not talking about science fiction. And depending on the broadness of the definition, many of us have already small portions of these digital twins in the Internet of Medicine that has been created. But fully, in the full description of a digital twin, I think we're at least 5 years out. We've seen tremendous progress. There are amazing companies that have already achieved very good results, specifically in the operating room of the future, where we have digital replicas of what is needed to produce a digital surgical twin, so to speak, for safety purposes. And I think those types of models highlight the opportunities we have with digital twins. So will it make care obsolete? No, but it will certainly have the opportunity to augment current care, complement where necessary, and completely redefine the way we interpret healthcare currently. That's, I think, for sure. I would like to highlight that there are at least 3 domains within the healthcare spectrum where they have tremendous benefits. Safety is number 1. And in the industrial world where digital twins have been used for years now, we've seen that proven over and over again. So medication safety, procedural safety, development of new treatment pathways. There is no doubt that having that digital replica instead of trying things on humans is better. The second one is in research and development. We can shorten the time frame in research and development from where it used to be. It's already gotten much shorter, but with digital twins, we can exponentially shorten that time frame. So that's only proof that by creating digital twins, we can create faster novel medications, maybe, novel procedures, novel treatment pathways, and completely new diagnostic tools, to speak to what Minnie was referencing before. Even pathology has made so much progress lately. It used to be one of the specialties that no one talked about, only oncology, right? We always hear about it, or neurosciences. But there are disciplines where I do believe that they'll be the forerunners in deploying these digital twins, because the immediate gains are tremendous. So again, quality, safety, and precision medicine solutions. To your point about training, I wish we had more. I'm a big advocate for the disruption of the current medical education system, which is certainly not attuned to the dynamic changes we see in the technology ecosystem and in all the startup world where we have so much progress. So I would urge policymakers and decision makers in the medical healthcare industry to look what's happening with VR as an example. I can see how the AR and VR industry can work very nicely together and create a safer medical training, accelerate the skills training, and overall improve, of course, global population health. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ingrid. Mike, you're next because you're short on time too, I think, yeah? Can you provide an example of a use case in healthcare where AI and blockchain function complementary versus one where coexistence is not optimal?
Yeah, of course. I think one of the first ones, so I mentioned before where you could take AI algorithms and create an NFT of your AI algorithm, and then you could be able to potentially sell it out to a marketplace and make it more meaningful. For our data scientists that are very close to healthcare and all the different codes and the medical codes and being able to see lesions in medical imaging and things like that, there are actually platforms out there where you can rent and sell algorithms out there and have them traced on a blockchain, and then be able to exchange a bill of lading, the owner of custodyship, when it comes to algorithm and sending out to many participants. I think if we were to, in healthcare, adopt the same type of model, it can be very beneficial for others to be incentivized to build AI algorithms, not just for one institution or hospital, but to be able to track it and send it to many parties and many different hospital systems as well. I also think we've talked about democratization of payment and services for many different things. And in healthcare today, we're highlighting a lot about caregivers and patient care associates that may go and assist people in their homes or in rural regions where they may not have access to care like we do in major cities or major metropolitans. And so being able to reimburse caregivers in particular for actions that can be validated in a token exchange relationship, that's where I see a really huge potential. I know there are different reimbursement laws when it comes to healthcare services in particular, where you can only receive X amount of money by doing X amount of services. But if we were to actually prove and show that the meaningful human connection by one caregiver to a particular patient or a particular person they are viewing over, that could actually really incentivize more people to want to get into caregiving. So it's not just babysitting of older people, it's more of maintaining a relationship, doing added services that can be able to get them reimbursed some more money. And I also think that right now there's really a new formation of DAOs, like I mentioned before, decentralized autonomous organizations. There are ways like there's a platform called Colony, I believe it's called. You could be able to create your own DAO. It's where different people can join different contracts and all type of works, and they can all profit against the distributed network for whatever type of action or service they want to put together. Because a lot of times, like if we think about the way that Web 2.0 is built and the way Web 3.0 is built. In Web 2.0, you have a user. In Web 3.0, you have a wallet, and you interact with your wallet. In Web 2.0, you interact with DNS, and 3.0, it's like ENS. But more Web 2.0 is application server, and then interacting with your app and how you exchange information and services there. In blockchain, you instead of interacting with an application server, you're interacting with the distributed ledger technology. And then instead of using an app, you're using a smart contract or a contract negotiation to exchange and provide value. And so those are really the main differences between the traditional web and how you would use the web in the future as well. And I really do believe that a lot of times we're going to automate the contracts and the back office administration purposes that we have in negotiating data and information with all these different partners. And I think you get to a point where instead of just centralized hubs of health insurance companies or major corporations, you'll have many regional DAOs and many regional services of people that have specialized services, have specialized experiences, and have specialized talents. And they can be able to do that in their region and lift up their community without having to take third-party burdens of money, administrative costs, and time. And those are the futures I see coming in the future. I think we're 3 to 5 years out of those type of futures becoming a reality. But I think it's exciting because it gives people the ability to be their own bank and to operate with their own talents and not have to go to a third party or create an LLC all the times, and just more so create a 1099 rather than being part of an organization. Though organizations help you save time and they give you more comfort, I think a lot of people would rather take the risk and work themselves. And we're also seeing in market gig economy type of jobs and talents coming out into the fold, and it's being more of a favorable type of employment for younger folks and individuals. Though health insurance, though, when you get older, you need more of those things because you have higher risk. I think there's going to be a balance between there in those worlds, like in the next 5 years, like we haven't seen before.
Thank you. So if you have to go, we understand, Mike. That was your last question. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much. Ben, let's go over to you. You have also stated the dawn of the AI and blockchain era is underway, and projects like Bitcoin and Ethereum have helped burst open the door and establish blockchain technology as a force for change on the planet. So, what's your take on how the metaverse and gaming will be impacted by AI and blockchain? What's the upside, and really, are there any downsides?
Yeah, I think metaverses interest me for a number of reasons. I mean, one of which is I think they can be an amazing playground for early stage AGI systems to learn in. I mean, I'm doing a bunch of work with humanoid robots in elder care and education and other domains. And I mean, physical robotics is important, but of course, robotics in itself has a lot of challenges. And I mean, you deal with practical stuff like we don't want our elder care robot to fall down on someone, right? So, I mean, in a metaverse, you can fall down on someone, it's okay. The robot can fly around, the people can fly around, and you know, you want to impose some constraints to make it natural to people and to make it meaningfully educational for the AI. But I think metaverses are just very cool learning grounds for early stage AGI systems, and then they can transfer some of their knowledge into the real world. And I also think that, you know, the interoperation between what we do in the real world and what we do in the metaverse via augmented reality and AI transfer learning and other tools working together is going to be quite interesting. I mean, in a way, we're already walking around in meta worlds on our phones of late. They're just really shitty meta worlds, right? So I mean, having far better, you know, interaction design and, you know, 3D, 4D surround and beautiful sound design and emotional responsiveness for the AI embedded both in humanoid agents and in the world itself. I mean, it won't necessarily suck in any more of our time than staring at these little phones do, but it's going to be a lot more richly rewarding. So I think that's the other half, right? First half is metaverses are great for training AGI systems, and training beneficial AGI is probably the most important thing on the planet right now. The other thing is we're already staring at crappy little interfaces all day. So why not make these incredibly beautiful virtual worlds that are, you know, emotionally, spiritually, and socially fulfilling? And we have the technology to do that right now, which is pretty awesome.
Thank you. It's a
We have
beautiful picture.
a new project called Sophia DAO, which you're going to hear a lot about in the next couple months, which is a metaverse using Singularity-Net based AI to deliver, you know, an emotionally responsive and artistically beautiful world featuring virtual simulacra of Sophia, Grace, and other humanoid robots, along with a lot of other cool stuff. So keep your eye out for Sophia DAO Metaverse, actually.
We will. Thank you so much. Radhika, let's go to you. Thank you for being patient. Where do you think blockchain will demonstrate the highest impact in healthcare over the next 5 years, and why?
So I'll start with explaining that when you think about healthcare, and this is what I've written about extensively, not only in my book, but other articles in medical journals and so on, what I'm really realizing more and more as I'm getting deeper and deeper into blockchain and AI applications in healthcare is that it really is a data story. What we have at the heart of healthcare is data. This is a data continuum. It is data at rest. It's data in motion. It's all about data. Quality of data, integrity of data, privacy of data, security of data, the story of data, which really is about us. And then there's ownership of data and, you know, the identity that goes along with that ownership of data. So for me, what I see happening that is most impactful in healthcare is bringing that complete story of data together. Input, administration, access, process, and then output. So what I'm working on with Barlea is something incredibly exciting because we're looking at next-gen healthcare cybersecurity platforms. What does that entail? It entails zero trust architecture. It entails threat detection and prevention. It entails minimizing the data footprint across the back end. And what all of that results in is far less risk around our data. As we know, and I think the pandemic has only spotlighted this issue even more, our data is continually vulnerable. And threat points, endpoint security from edge devices, IoT devices coming online, all of this is really at the pushing the maximum boundaries of what we have and breaching those maximum boundaries. And so what I see as the future of healthcare is, if we really want to get at improving the health part of healthcare, we've got to start at the foundation, which is unfortunately broken at the foundation. And so what we have to rebuild from the foundation is the data story. We have to be able to prevent unauthorized access to data. We have to be able to protect the integrity of the data at the core. And then once we have all of that privacy, security, and accessibility, the right accessibility around the data, what we're going to be able to do is improve data sharing. When we do that, what that's going to result in the future of healthcare is a far more personalized version of healthcare than ever before. I think when people, you talk to people in healthcare, and those of us who've been around in this field for a while realize that personalization in healthcare is going to be increasingly important and valuable. But how do you deliver that if you can't secure the foundation? So I think with Barlea, what we're doing is we're starting at ground zero and securing the foundation first, and then building all these skyscrapers on top of it afterwards, which has that better foundation at the bottom. I hope that makes sense. It's really all part of securing the data continuum.
Thank you. Mimi, do we have time for one last question for you?
I think we are right on time, unless it's a short question.
Well, it goes into predictive dental care and the ADA and Medicare. Do you want to get into that, or shall we leave that for another time?
Yeah, that's a big discussion topic, I would say, Tori, and a little controversial one too.
Yes.
Well, I think it's where blockchain and AI actually play together. I'll just say that. So we could probably spend a whole conference just talking about that alone. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll leave you both here, and thank you so very much again for the opportunity and invitation. And on behalf of all our panelists, thank you so very much to TiE Silicon Valley. The event, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so very much, and we wish you all continued success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tori.
Thanks, Tori.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.